So we got this chat screen going, but of course the chat messages don't look that exciting. So time to work on those. We get the messages start file where we render just text as messages. And I will simply add a new widget file here, message bubble.dart, to render such a chat message bubble in there. Now, a message bubble can just be a stateless widget. It doesn't manage any internal state, it just outputs data, and I'll name this message bubble. And of course, as always, import material.dart from the Flutter package so that we can use all those Flutter components. Now, the idea here is simple. Here I want to render or output, return, a more beautiful chat message, which looks nicer than just some boring text. And to achieve this, we can indeed return a container here, because a container is a pretty versatile component, which we can style quite a bit. And we add decoration to the container. Now this takes a box decoration object, which we can create with the box decoration constructor function. And here we can configure a bunch of things. For example, we can set a color and use, let's say, our accent color here as the base background color. We can also set up a border radius to define some rounded corners. And here we can then use border radius .circular to set a specific border radius on all corners. Now we can also define a fixed width, not inside of decoration though, but directly in the container. For example, of 140, so that our message is always contained in a box of this width. We can also add some padding here and use edge insets symmetric maybe to have different padding to left and right and top and bottom. And for padding to top and bottom, so for vertical padding, I'll set a padding of 10. And for left and right, I want to have a little bit more space, so I'll set the horizontal padding to 16. And of course, as always, you can play around with these values and find the style you like most. Now, I also want to add some margin so that there is some space between the different messages. And here again, I'll use edge insets symmetric to have different spacing to top and bottom and for left and right. And for top and bottom spacing, I'll use 4, and for left and right spacing, I'll use 8. Now, last but not least, inside of that container, I want to have a child, and that can be a text widget here, which should now hold that actual message. Of course, not hard-coded like this, but received from outside as an input to message bubble. So therefore here, I'll define a property, which is of kind string, which will be our message. And that should be received from outside. So let's define the message bubble constructor function here and make sure that the first argument we receive is bound to that message property. And now that message property will hold the message, we can output it here. Now maybe we also want to style this text, so I'll set the style argument on the text widget and set it to a text style object where you can style whatever you want. I will just style the color and make sure that we can see this because the box has the accent color as a background. Because of that here, I actually want to set the text color to accent text theme .title.color, and that should be a color that stands out from the accent color background. So that's my message bubble. Let's give it a try. Let's go to messages, and instead of rendering just this text here, we can now render a message bubble here. Of course, make sure you import your message bubble Dart file for that. And message bubble wants the text it should render as an input, so we reach out to chat docs for the given index and then to the text field in this document. And if we now save everything, this looks nicer. Now we got these chat messages. Still not the final style, but better than nothing. Now you see that the width is ignored though. The width of 140, which I set up here. And that happens because it's inside of a list view. Now we can make sure that the width is respected by, for example, wrapping the container here into a row. And you'll see why I want a row in a second. I have another reason for using that as well. So if we wrap this in a row, now the width is respected and we have our chat bubbles here. Now at the moment they all have the same look and they're all on the same side. And of course in reality, we might want to differentiate between chat messages received or written by us and chat messages written by another user. Maybe our messages should be on the right and have a different background color than the messages we get from our users. And to incorporate this, we can go to New Message and make sure that when we send this message, we actually also add another field, the user ID field. And that should now be our user ID so that we can later use that to find out whether it was us who wrote this message or some other user. Now for that, of course, we need access to our user ID, and that's something we'll do in the next lecture.